I'm Lee May, and this is my faith story. What is my faith story? Hmm. I'm 47 years old. I am the son of a pastor and a teacher, both retired. I am what you might call spiritually privileged. What does that mean? You may not have even heard that before. You ever seen kids of famous people or rich people, and you look at them and say uh, they're privileged? Um, I didn't grow up rich, didn't grow up famous, but I grew up with a wealth of spiritual background. I grew up going to church. I grew up going to vacation Bible school. I grew up going to Sunday school. I grew up watching my dad preach and teach every Sunday. I grew up with a praying family. And so I grew up spiritually privileged. I don't know life without God. I don't know life without church. It's all I've ever known. But that doesn't mean that I was always on the straight and narrow. I wasn't always on the path. As a matter of fact, I grew up like, they say about preachers' kids. You either grow up goody two shoes, you follow in the footsteps of your parents as a preacher, or you grow up wilding out. And I think I did the latter. But loop back around, because you see what I'm doing today, loop back around to the former in terms of following the steps of my father. So I grew up in a household that valued God, that had a God consciousness. I would say at the age of about 12 years old, I began operating outside of the faith of my parents and starting to ask some questions for myself. You know, who really is God? Who is God in my life? Is God real? You know, and it probably started for me when my favorite cousin in the world, when he was killed in his encounter with the police, and he was my favorite cousin, and I just had this crisis at like 12 years old. Like, I don't understand this. Facing probably the closest reality of death in my life was my cousin, and just started praying. As a matter of fact, my prayer as a 12-year-old was, well, God, you resurrected your son Jesus. I believe in you, so why don't you resurrect my cousin? You know, and at the same time, literally like the next day, it's crazy because I'm allergic to dogs, but I grew up with dogs, and my dog was killed like the next day, and running across the street. And so I now had two crises in my life as a 12-year-old. My favorite cousin died, and my dog died. And so I'm asking God, resurrect my cousin and resurrect my dog. I need you to do this. And when I tell you, every night I would fall asleep praying this prayer. I would pray crying, God, just, because I just frankly believe in what I kept hearing in church. And I was like, well, if they said it, it's in the Bible. I've seen in the Bible people, Lazarus was raised from the dead. You raised your son Jesus. Why not raise my cousin and my dog? And it didn't happen, right? So then I had to deal with that. All right, I prayed with everything in me. I prayed believing that you could do it and you would do it, but it didn't happen. And I was disappointed, like mad, right? Mad with God. Like, I don't understand why. My cousin was 17 years old. I'm 12 years old. My dog was, I don't know how old my dog was. But I really, even at 12 years old, really believe that God could engage in my life and that He would. So somehow, some way, even though I was disappointed and upset, I didn't lose faith in God. Um, but it was still living off my parents' faith. And then in time, you grow older, and for the most part, I was a good kid, so I wasn't a wilding out kid. Well, others would say I was wilding out. I was just having fun. But I really lived my life just doing what I enjoyed to do. I liked having fun. I like having fun with people. I like to be the life of the party. I like meeting new people. I like throwing parties. I like being the life of the party and all of that. So for me, my life was more about that. And so from middle school through high school, it was, let's just live life. Let's have fun. Like, I want to leave this life having left everything on the field. Like, I didn't not do anything I didn't want to do, right, that I want to do. And so that was my life. Then I go off to college, Clark Atlanta University. At Clark Atlanta University, I am there in this place that, what's the UNCF's motto? A mind is a terrible thing to waste. I believed in that. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. I also believed a life is a terrible thing to waste. So let's have at it. Let's kick it. Let's go all in. And that's what I did at CAU. And just wanting to enjoy everything that life had to offer. And so I lived life for me. Still had a God consciousness, still had a faith perspective as well. But life was all about me. Now, let me take a step back. What I didn't say is at that age of 12 to 13 and me going hard because I wanted to see God make a difference and resurrecting my cousin and my dog. But at the age of 13, I actually had this moment in service. I was still in St. Louis at the time. I think it was our last year there, where I gave my life to Christ and I joined the church. Yes, I had grown up in church, and always when my parents joined the church, of course, because he was leading it, we followed. But this was the first time that I made a decision for myself. And I gave my life to Christ. I joined the church. I, of course, began to read more of the Word and understand God a lot more. But it was disconnected from my daily life. It was a decision that I made, but it wasn't a life decision. It was more of an eternal decision. I believe in you, Jesus. And so in eternity, I know I can live my life with you, right, after I die. But at 13 years old, I did not make the commitment that my life will be guided, would be dictated by the God of the Bible, by what the Bible says, and my faith was an integral part of my life. It just wasn't. It was more head knowledge and more than anything. So now let's fast forward back now. I've graduated high school. I'm at college. I'm living my life. Yes, I had a God consciousness. I'd given my life to Christ in my head, but it wasn't guiding my everyday life. And so, yes, I still went to church every Sunday because I grew up going to church every Sunday. But Monday through Saturday, I was wilding out. As a matter of fact, I would kick it up until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, get home, brush my teeth, take a shower, try and wipe off all the liquor that I could so that you wouldn't smell it too bad in church. And I would still go to church. And my boys, my folk, my frat brothers, they all knew it. They all saw it. Everybody saw the dichotomy of my life. Everyone saw that Lee was living two lives. And it wasn't that I was talking about living two lives or talking one thing and living another. It was just, this is who I was. I went to church on Sundays, and then I went and did what I did all the remainder of the week. So my faith story really has been about connecting what I say I believe with my actual life. And that's been the difficulty. That was always the difficulty up in my younger days, my teenage days, my young adult days as well. How do I make my faith really real, and how do I make it really inform my life? And that was the struggle of my life journey. I like women. I tried to connect with as many women as I could. I liked to party. I tried to party as much as I could. I liked drinking. I drank as much as I could. My tolerance was ridiculous. I like to just engage life, and so that's what I did. And so what I found was, even if you saw me in church, and I would know the gospel songs and the Christian songs and even the Bible verses and all of that, it really wasn't the driving factor in my life. Me living life, me even pursuing my dreams was really the driving factor in my life. So that is my faith journey. It's my story. From the age of 12 into my young adult years, into my early 20s, I would say my life was really a dichotomy. What I believed in my faith and what I lived in my life were really two different things. And you saw that lived out in my college years, really enjoying life to the fullest, enjoying people to the fullest, enjoying women to the fullest, enjoying alcohol to the fullest, enjoying anything that made me feel good to the fullest. There was a particular moment at the church that I joined at the time, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, at the age of 19, where the preacher spoke in such a way, became my pastor for 16 years, Bishop Long. He spoke in such a way that made me realize that what I believed in my mind, what I believed in my faith, ought to inform how I live my life. And not just inform it, but actually guide how I live my life. Just to be really frank, if that was a Sunday, no telling what was going on that Friday or Saturday. And so it made me think real seriously about how I was living my life, and even made me want to make some decisions to change or alter my lifestyle, right? And my friends, my boys, would tell you that I struggled all throughout college and even after college with really living my life in a way that my faith really held to be true, right? I mean, living my life in a way that God would be pleased with. And so I would go through these ups and downs. As, I had my faith here. I never left from my faith, not much. I have some examples of me leaving, stepping away, curious about some things, but I never fully left. But yet I held on to the world and to the lifestyle of just pleasing myself as much as I could. So in my faith story, my journey from all the way from like 12 years old until my young adult years, I think I really was searching for this intimate relationship with God, that I'd heard preachers talk about, that I'd heard other more spiritually mature and grown people talk about. And that's something that I wanted. I wanted this close, intimate relationship with God. Like, I wanted to hear from God. I wanted to do what God wanted me to do. And think about this, at 12 years old, I didn't have that, didn't know how to get that, but yet was searching. And I would say my faith story has really been one of ongoing searching for God, to be in this deep, intimate relationship with Him. And so as a part of me growing and maturing and evolving as a young man of faith, I had to understand my definition of what fun, what excitement, what living looked like was all off. And it wasn't informed by anything but what I felt like. And so now, as an older man, I'm living life. I am enjoying life way more than I could have ever been living when I was living as a younger man, because of what I determined through my relationship with God, fun looks like, life looks like. What excitement looks like. I get excitement out of things that I would have never gotten excited about before. And that came through my spiritual walk